Dracula has some of the most interesting add-ons in all of Dead by Daylight, so I decided to compile a list of Dracula add-ons that you should be using in your matches, as most of Dracula's add-ons can give you game-changing effects, while others can give you stat increases to help you determine whether you get a down or not in a timely manner. This add-on tier list will be ranked from S tier to D tier, which in other words, what is his best add-ons to use and what is not really the best to use. I did make an add-on tier list a while ago, but you know, almost all of Dracula's add-ons got changed, so yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this add-on tier list. Let me know what you guys think about, you know, your favorite add-ons to use and what you think is the best, what you think is the worst. And yeah, I really hope you guys enjoy it. Again, remember, I'm ranking this from the best to the worst. So the best is going to be at the top, the very first of the video, and then the worst is going to be all the way at the end. So there's going to be timestamps if you want to know. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. Okay, to start us off, we got Dracula's S tier add-ons. This is basically his best of the best add-ons you should be using. Overall, just amazing picks. You can never go wrong with these. I would suggest you use these as well. Now, I was kind of drawn in between two of which add-on is technically the best, but again, I had to come to a realization of like what really is the best. And at the end of the day, it's still going to be Lapis. Lapis is still going to be the best add-on in the entire game for Dracula because it essentially removes his counterplate in bat form and essentially forces survivors to hold W or try and make it to pallets. And especially with Wolfform's haste, you can't really do that in certain cases, right? If you don't know what this add-on does, it basically blocks a window for 8 seconds anytime you teleport to it, which again, if you have another add-on like Medusa's hair, it makes survivors slow if after you teleport to a window. So yeah, essentially this add-on is just really, really disgusting. It's always going to be his best add-on because it essentially just removes a counterplate for survivors. Obviously, there are certain maps you can't really get value out of this, like for example, you know, Gideon's is really hard because on the top floor, there is only 2 windows. And one is by the exit gate and one is at the very top of like the drop down. So it's like you're not going to really ever get value out of this add-on on that map. Or even Hawkins, you know, when do you ever go to a window in Hawkins, you know, aside from the portal room, you know? But yeah, for the most part, like this add-on is just disgusting. It's going to be his best add-on. Okay, for Dracula's second best add-on, it's going to have to go to Warg's Fang. This recently just got hotfixed or bug fixed to basically let you see survivors' auras as long as you capture their scent orb once. This was a bug a bit ago, but I guess they fixed it and then they realized they kind of did like the effects, so they kind of kept it as a bug fix. And now this is what we have now. Essentially what this does, again, as long as you grab their scent orb at least once in the trial, you will have it. But remember, you have to collect the scent orb once your pounce is down. So if your pounce is on cooldown and then you collect their scent orb, next time you get your pounce off, you know, cooldown, you will see their aura anytime in the match. So let's say you lose a survivor, you cannot find anybody, you pounce into a wall, lose your cooldown, your power comes back, you see their scent orb or scent orb aura, right? Now this is really, really disgusting because essentially this basically removes your gameplay aspect as a killer. So what I mean by that is essentially when you're playing killer, right? You're gonna have to get in your mindset of, okay, well, I'm chasing the survivor over here. These other 2 survivors could be by shack, one could be over here, right? But basically what this does is when you're chasing a survivor, because you're always going to be essentially using wolf form in most of your chases, right? Unless you're just going Hellfire for some reason. Essentially, when you be using wolf form in your chases, once you get your power off of cooldown, you'll essentially get that aura of like where to go next. And it's kind of like a mini barbecue. Someone actually told me in one of my comments, it's kind of like aftercare for killers. And I didn't think about that. But like, that's actually really true if you really think about it. It's kind of like aftercare, but for Dracula. But yeah, I was so drawn to making this his best add-on because like it just, oh my goodness, like the value you get out of this add-on is just so disgusting. But I had to really come into realization that Lapis is the better add-on because it basically makes chases end like very quickly if you know how to use this correctly. But yeah, overall this add-on is really good. Warg's Fang is really good in chase because you can essentially get aura in chase to basically mind game the survivor. You can get it outside of chase to tell you where to go, and it essentially just removes your whole gameplay aspect of like, you know, having to know map knowledge and everything like that. So overall this add-on is another S tier add-on. Now, I was going to put a different add-on here in S tier, but I don't know. I think we're going to have to go to the A tiers for this because these 2 add-ons don't compare to the other add-ons that we're going to be listing below. So I think we have to go to the A tier now. Okay, now we got his A tier add-ons. His A tier add-ons are essentially really, really good add-ons. Overall, can never go wrong with them, but they don't pair up to the whole S tier add-ons because of the value you get from the S tier add-ons, right? But they're still really good, right? So I think for his very first one, I'm going to have to put for this is going to be Medusa. Medusa has gotten a lot of changes since it basically came into the game. Originally, this gave you blindness if you passed through a survivor with bad form while you're teleporting. It was really bad. You never got value out of this add-on. And then it got giga buffed to 50% hindered, and then it got nerfed really hard for like 8% hinder for 2 seconds, and now we're at the certain case where it's 8% hindered for 4 seconds. This is really good because if you pair this up with other teleport add-ons, like for example Lapis, you can block the window and also hinder them in the process. So if they're trying to make it to, let's say, a pallet, for example, they're not going to have enough distance to basically make it there, because you also have Wolfworm's haste with that Sin Orb, and essentially they will just die. They will just die. And this add-on, like, a lot of people still say that this add-on isn't like top tier anymore for Dracula, but I'm so serious, this is still top 5 for him. Like, it's so disgusting. Especially with other bat form teleport add-ons, like let's say magical ticket to make your teleport faster, this essentially just helps you so much in chase, and it is so disgusting. Because remember, Dracula is essentially 120 with scent orbs. Survivors are 100% movement speed just on the base, right? So you're removing 8% of that. That is like almost like a close to 30% difference. It's like what, 28%? I think. Yeah, 28% difference. That is disgusting. They're not making anything, bro. Alrighty, for Dracula's second A tier add-on, this is one of my favorites I like to run whenever I go full wolf form, and that is gonna have to be Killer Doll. Killer Doll essentially makes your scent orb recovery that you get from, picking up scent orbs for your power from 20% to 30%. If you need actual numbers for that, instead of 4 seconds saving off the scent orb, is 6 seconds saving off the scent orb. And remember, any second counts in this game. It could literally be 1 second and it'd be so impactful, because again, getting your pounce attack in a timely manner essentially means you could be a lot more aggressive in chase and essentially get downs a lot more faster. Again, if you have 2 scent orbs right next to each other, having those 2 scent orbs and then simultaneously have it with Killer Doll essentially means you can immediately get your power back in a timely manner and just immediately pounce. So for example, like let's say you pounce attack on someone, your pounce is on the 20-second cooldown, right? And there's 2 scent orbs with Killer Doll. Once you pick up the 2 at that same time, or even like right next to each other, you get your power back immediately. You can pounce again. If you don't have this, you have to wait like an extra 2 to 3 seconds, and you can't, they could obviously probably make it like around a corner or something, and it'd be a lot harder for you to get your pounce attack in. So again, this add-on is really good. It lets you be a lot more aggressive in chase. I'm telling you, anytime you see someone like play Dracula, I almost always see them run this add-on, because it lets you be a lot more aggressive in chase, which is what you want to do, because Dracula is a very good chase killer while also being a very good just killer in general. So okay, for his third A tier add-on I have here, which is basically I guess the 5th add-on, right? Is gonna have to go to Ring of Vlad. I was really content about putting this later in the A tier, but I think this add-on, it just has a lot of potential, and the reason why is because when you're at Shack, you could essentially just get so much value from this add-on because it curves around the walls. But it's also really good if they try and make distance from you, because normally when you pull up your Hellfire, a survivor is going to try and make distance and hold W, right? They're going to try and zigzag and basically displace themselves, so it's harder for you to hit your Hellfire, right? Basically what this add-on does is if they're away from you and they're further from you, it's going to have more room for it to curve onto the survivors, which essentially means that this add-on is going to do what it's intended to do, and most of the time is going to grant you the free hits. Now, even if you're really close to them at like, let's say like a small loop, this add-on still does really good, and it's still going to zone in on the survivors. So this add-on just gets so much value. It's so crazy. On its release, it was really bad, but since it's gotten its buff, like this add-on is just so disgusting. Yeah, I was really content about putting this later in the tier list, but I've been playing a lot with it today, just to like test it a bit. And yeah, no, I think this is really good, because you got to remember, like once you understand how this add-on works, it's just so disgusting, because the way I like to do it is, let's say a survivor is in front of me, right? I like to purposely aim my Hellfire a little bit to the left or to the right, so the Hellfire can curve onto them, right? If I were to essentially just throw it immediately at them like a regular Hellfire, obviously the Hellfire isn't going to be able to curve or home in on them, since you are essentially sending it at them, right? So if you kind of like, you don't want to essentially throw it like all the way like far south, right? But if you throw it a little bit near them, the Hellfire is going to be able to curve onto them. That's why it's very good at check, because essentially, you know, you're throwing it around the wall and it's curving onto the survivor. Think about it that way. Throw a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right, and it's going to curve onto them, essentially giving you so much value out of this add-on. Alrighty, for his 6th add-on, in my opinion, is going to have to go to Wing Boots. Wing Boots essentially gives you 20% range you can use on your teleport. So basically you can teleport from further, 20% further. It is really, really good, especially on bigger maps, because you could essentially teleport where you need to go a lot more further. So you can activate your turn back the clock. You can do pop very much more easily than, you know, having to fly a little bit and then being able to teleport. So this add-on is really, really good. You see it a lot in competitive play, but the problem with this add-on, and you got to be really careful with this add-on sometimes, is since you have a larger range to teleport and you're being able to teleport from further, you also have a longer teleport period, you know, since you're basically essentially spending more time in that teleport. Now, again, since you got to be really careful with this, and if you don't mind with that time, that little mist cloud that appears on the window or the palette that you're teleporting to is still going to be there a lot more during that teleport period. So survivors are going to have a lot more reaction time on that teleport to be able to basically hold W or make distance from you before you're able to actually teleport and get, you know, to there. So that's why I say be a little bit careful with this add-on. It's a really good add-on. It's like one of his best, but again, just be careful with it, because, you know, longer teleport, longer transition time, and then obviously it gives more reaction time to the survivors as well. Alrighty, for his 7th add-on, I'm gonna have to go with Magical Ticket. Magical Ticket basically, oh, why do I have an accent? Magical Ticket basically increases your teleport speed by 10%. This is really, really, really good, because again, even if you don't run it with boots, which you can, because essentially it will help boots, it's really good because you could be aggressive with Batform and Chase. You could do a lot of cutoffs with this add-on. You could essentially get from point A to point B after hooking a survivor a lot more quicker. I'm telling you, this is one of my favorite add-ons to use in him, and I'm actually kind of running out. Like all of my other green, or is it green or yellow? I don't know what this is. I'm colorblind, okay? Whatever color this is. I have like over 3,000, 4,000 of the other add-ons, and I have like 2,000 here. So I really love this add-on. I'm telling you, if you play Batform very aggressively with this add-on, you will get a lot of value out of this add-on. Or even if you don't play aggressive about form, you'll still get a lot of value out of this add-on, because essentially once you're teleporting faster, you could activate turn back the clock a lot more faster. And again, that is if you decide to use that add-on, but you know, I would suggest using this add-on because it is so good. Okay, so I decided to make an A- tier only because these add-ons deserve to be A, but they're also not on the level of like these add-ons of like how good they are, right? But they're also not B tier add-ons, right? So like I decided to just make a different tier because I feel like that's what I should just do, you know? So yeah. I think, okay, to start this off, we're going to have to go with Pocket Watch. Pocket Watch basically resets your teleport cooldown anytime you break a pallet or wall. This is really disgusting for creating dead zones, because dead zones is essentially what makes or breaks a survivor. If they teleport, if they basically path wrong and you created a dead zone with Pocket Watch earlier in the match, this essentially means that they are just dead and they will not be able to make much distance anywhere. And again, with Dracula's very good chase power, it's just GG. They will not be able to do much. Again, if you run this with Brutal or any type of like faster breaker action type perks, this also works really well because you can break faster while in bat form. So yeah, keep that in mind. Really good add-on, very impactful. Yeah, you can even run it with like boots or ticket or just any type of like bat form teleport add-ons. You can literally just zoom to the ballot, break it, zoom to the ballot, break it, zoom to the ballot, break it, zoom to another place, teleport. It's a very fun add-on to use, but overall it's a really impactful add-on. Yeah, super impactful. So now we got our second add-on in the A- tier. Now this is the add-on I didn't want to put in B tier, but I also didn't want to put in the high A tier because it's not as impactful as like all these other add-ons, right? And that's gonna be Force of Echo. Force of Echo essentially just makes your sent orb spawn time from like 6 seconds to like back to 5 seconds. It's basically like the pre-nerfed version. It's not exactly 5 seconds, but it's around there. It's like the pre-nerfed version of Dracula. Essentially, this is really good. You're not gonna really get too much value out of this if you're just playing through all your forms, because remember, if you're gonna hit your Hellfire, you're gonna swap to Wolf form, hit your pounce. The survivor is gonna be down if you play it correctly. So this is really good if you do want to play a lot of Wolf form. And again, remember, in Wolf form, you do not gain Bloodlust. So your Scent Orb is basically your way to catch up to survivors, since it does have haste. So this add-on can be really good in that aspect because essentially you are getting access to, you know, your way to catch up to survivors a lot more frequently. But again, remember, if you're swapping between your forms, you're not gonna get bloodlust anyways if you're staying in vampire form or anything like that. So again, this add-on, it's really dependent on how you are with wolf form or Dracula in general. If you're newer to Dracula, I would suggest this add-on because again, remember, that's your way to catch up to survivors. It'll be a lot more easier to play around certain forms. You could do Killer Doll, Force of Echo. That is a very, very good combo I suggest for beginners, because essentially this allows you to help you understand wolf form, because it lets you be kind of irresponsible with this power. Because let's say you miss a lot, right? You basically get your power back faster, and it lets you practice over and over and over until you get wolf form down. So this is a very, very good learning add-on, especially with Killer Doll. Alrighty, for the third add-on in the A- tier is going to have to go to Goblet. Goblet essentially lets your scent orbs last an extra 6 seconds, which can be really, really good if you pair it up with Killer Doll, because, you know, having that second scent orb at that time can essentially mean that you can waste your pounds, get your pounds back immediately, and then pounce again, which is really, really good. Or even if you don't run it with Killer Doll, it just lets you provide so much information, because if you see that scent orb on the map, anywhere on the map, if you have direct line of sight on it, it basically means, okay, I know where to go next. You see that information. A very, very good add-on. It's very good for information. It's very good for chase. Even if you don't have Killer Doll, it's really good in chase, because you could essentially, again, get 2 scent orbs back. But remember, you can only have 5 scent orbs at a time. So you can't just like hope to get 10 scent orbs and then just boom, 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 you know? But yeah, really, really good add-on. It's nothing like too crazy to get into. It's just like it's their add-on, but it's really, really good. Alrighty, now we got our B tier add-on. These are the add-ons that are okay, but you also don't want to rely on them too much, because it's just like, they're there, you know, they're there. So for our very first B tier add-on, I'm gonna have to go with a Moonstone Necklace. Moonstone Necklace basically reduces your terror radius by 8 meters, essentially making you a 24-meter terror radius killer. Now, this is what every single stealth killer has, like Skull Merchant, you know, a bunch of the stealth killers. They all have 24-meter terror radiuses, because they kind of need that to basically help them sneak up on the survivors, since they don't really have strong chase powers. Now, Dracula has a really, really strong chase power, so basically having this add-on essentially allows you to be very aggressive with Dracula and not giving them much more like reaction time that they normally would have with a 32-meter terror radius, right? You can even pair this up with Monitor, and the cool thing about this though is it doesn't get affected by diminishing returns. And you know why? Because diminishing returns doesn't get affected by add-ons. So since your base terror radius is going to be smaller with Monitor, having this add-on applied is basically like the same that you would have, you know, with Monitor and this add-on. So it's really, really good. I'm telling you, this add-on is super goated. You got to try it if you do want to do small terror radius builds. I actually have a video on it. I'll probably put it in the description, but overall, yeah, really good add-on to sneak up on the survivors. If you're running a Monitor, it's just like giga buffed, you know, super sneaky Dracula. You could also, even if you want to do this, you can run this with Silent Shadow, because if you run it with Silent Shadow, every time you hook a survivor, you get undetectable, right? And then once your undetectable runs out, you still have that smaller terror radius, so you're basically sneaking up on the survivors much more frequently. And they're just not going to have much time to really react to you, and then you're going to be able to get a pounce on them, a hellfire on them, and yeah, they just won't have time to react. Alrighty, second add-on in the B tier list is going to have to go to Sylph Feather. Sylph Feather basically essentially reduces your Hellfire cooldown by 5% for each pellet that you break, up to 5, which is basically 25%. This is really, really good for Hellfire spamming. But again, if you're swapping between your forms, you're only going to really use your Hellfire once and then swap to Wolf form, get a Wolf pounce, you know, stuff like that. But if you want to do Hellfire spam, which is what I like to do with this add-on, it's really good. It's really good if you like to pair it up with Ring of Vlad as well, because shorter Hellfire cooldown, you can basically spam this, get free hits. It's super goated. It's very Cocomelon, but it's super goated. The reason why this isn't like higher in the tier list is because it's like a niche add-on. Again, you're not gonna really like use this aggressively too much, because you know the thing about Dracula, he's very, very good with swapping between forms and getting value out of your forms in a chase. So just staying in vampire form, like most of the time survivors are just gonna hold W, and if they see that you're staying in vampire form, they're just gonna keep to hold W, and you know eventually you're gonna give up and swap to wolf form or something like that. Especially given on the map that you are. Like, imagine you doing this on Hawkins. You know, they're going to make distance on you. But it's really good. It is really good. Especially if you're running with sunglasses. I'm not putting it in C tier because it's not, like, terrible. It's a really good add-on. It's very impactful. But it's also, like, not, like, A tier, you know? Okay, for his third B tier add-on, is going to have to go to Cerberus Talon. Cerberus Talon basically increases the aura reading range that you get on the set arms by 100%, or basically making it 24 meters. This is really impactful because on indoor maps, you get a lot of information, especially on like Midwich, Larry's, especially Larry's, because, you know, Larry's has a lot of line of sight blockers. So getting that information on Larry's is really important. But again, at the end of the day, there are a lot more better add-ons to use than Cerberus Talon, but it's also like not a bad add-on. You know, if a survivor knows that you have this add-on, which they're not gonna ever know you have this add-on, they're gonna like start to walk around, stealth around, and you're not gonna really get much value out of this add-on because again, sand orbs don't spawn if you're standing still or doing generators or anything like that. It's only when you're running. So this is more so like good information if a survivor is running to get an unhook, if they're just running around the map for some reason, good information for that. But like in chase or anything like that, you won't get value out of this add-on. There's a lot more better options like Killer Doll, Lapis, stuff like that for chase. But yeah, it's an okay add-on. It's a very good informational add-on, but you know, Warg's Fang is just 10 times better. A million times better. Okay, to close off his B tier, I'm gonna have to go with Traveler's Hat. Traveler's Hat basically reduces your shapeshift like transition period, so basically you can attack faster, do actions faster by 5% for each form. Again, remember vampire form and wolf form transition times are 1 second, and then bat form is 1.5 seconds. So basically what this does, it's really good for bat form essentially, and I wanted to put in C tier because like for a wolf and vampire form, it's really good if you want to like swap and do hellfire plays or wolf pounds plays, but it's really impactful for bat form because when you're swapping out of bat form, you're a lot slower than swapping between wolf or vampire form. So basically getting back to that 4.6 meters per second in a timely manner is really good, but it's also not like his best add-on. It used to be so disgusting because you could essentially just remove his counterplay if you had like bad ping or something like that, when it was like 10% or something like that. But yeah, it's an okay add-on. It's really good if you play aggressively with it, and if you know like your timings with, you know, the shapeshift and everything like that, you can kind of abuse this add-on if you know that 0.5 second or the point, you know, or the 0.075 instead of 0.5 because bad form. But yeah, essentially you can kind of abuse this if you know how to do it correctly. But again, at the end of the day, it's not like super impactful. Like it's not going to be the reason why you win the game, right? It like compare this to like Lapis or Warg's Fang, right? Is Traveler's Hat going to essentially help you win the game, or is Lapis going to help you win the game? Lapis is going to, because it essentially just removes the counterplay, right? Like, you know, bad form, like Traveler's Hat is more so like a feels good add-on if you're used to it, you know, but it's not like something that's super crazy. Alrighty, now we got the C tier. C tier add-ons are kind of like the Fell from Grace add-ons. They're there, you know, but they're not D tier. So I mean, I guess they're okay, right? All right, to start off, we got Clocktower Gear. Clocktower Gear kind of fell from grace, man. This add-on used to be so good. Now it is pretty bad. So basically what this does is basically makes your shapeshift cooldown 5% less. So instead of 3.5 seconds, it's going to be 3.325 seconds. Now this add-on used to make it like 3 seconds, but since it's got a nerfed, it's more so like an add-on for newer Dracula players the way I see it, because what it used to do, it used to enable bad form to be even more aggressive in chase. So you could essentially hit a survivor with an M1, you swap to bad form, catch up to them, immediately be able to transform onto them, and then hit them again, vice versa, right? Now what this essentially really does in the most part now is for newer Draculas, if you accidentally swap into the wrong form, you can basically be able to catch up to the survivor a lot more frequently, and then obviously go to the form you want. You can essentially play like the way you used to play. It's just a lot more trickier, and you have to know your timings and you have to know your distance. So it's more so like a skill check add-on, but it's overall like not like the worst add-on in the game for him, but it's also like not the best either, you know? Alrighty, now we got Ruby Circlet. I feel like this add-on has to get reworked in my opinion. It doesn't really do anything as much. Basically, this reduces your Hellfire cooldown by 5%. So instead of 9.5 seconds, it's 9.025 seconds. I think they want to keep Hellfire like around 9 seconds. So essentially what this add-on does is when you throw out your Hellfire, you go through that little cooldown of like your miss cooldown or your hit cooldown, and then essentially that's like when, you know, you was off to bad form, have your cooldown and everything like that, right? This isn't like really an add-on where you can use to like kind of spam Hellfire, since the timing is just so little. It's not impactful at all. Like you're just never going to really get value out of this add-on if you're running it by itself. It's only okay with Sylph Feather, but even then Sylph Feather reduces it to like 7 seconds, so you don't really need this add-on whatsoever. Like this add-on is very obsolete, and I promise you, like, you're never going to really get major value out of this add-on, and I don't really suggest running using it because it's just a waste of an add-on slot. In my opinion, I feel like they should just rework it into something else. Maybe it'd be cool if they do like a hit cooldown, right? So instead of like, you basically recover from hellfire like a lot faster. That'd be kind of cool, right? Or like something, but it's also like tricky to do that because that would make his like camping a lot like easier and tunneling a lot easier. So I don't know. I just feel like this add-on has to get reworked, but it's also like not his worst add-on because again, if you do hellfire spam, you could do that, but again, those little like tiny seconds that you get from it is not really impactful. It's just like it's another it's there add-on, but it's not impactful at all as well. You know. Alrighty, now for his third add-on on the C tier, it's gonna have to go to Cubizo. Cubizo essentially spawns Hellfire Pillars for 10 seconds around Dracula whenever a generator pops. Now, this is really funny. It's more like a niche add-on. It's super funny because you can get some cheeky hits in bad form or even wolf form or just any form that you're in. Or you could essentially get 2 taps with this add-on, right? But the problem with this add-on is it's very countered. It is hard countered. Probably the most countered add-on in the entire game by Swifts. And the reason why is because if they know you have this add-on while you are chasing a survivor, they're going to wait until the survivor goes down and then they're gonna pop the generator, basically essentially making this add-on do nothing for you. Again, you got to be really careful with this add-on. It's more so like if you just want to get your hellfire stats up or you want to do silly builds with just hellfire spam, but essentially like this add-on is it's very hard countered if they know that you have it. So but it's really funny. Alrighty, last add-on in the C tier list, and it kind of goes the same way with Cubizo. It's honestly a little the reason why I'm putting it below Cubizo is because most of the time when you're playing Dracula and you're pretty decent with Dracula, like you're never gonna really make it to endgame anyways because you know Dracula's just a really good killer. But in the off chance that you do, most of the time a survivor is going to heal because most of the time if they see you have this add-on, the Hellfire Pillars are spawning up on the X gate, so they're essentially going to come into the map and essentially heal. And basically when they run into the exit gate, you know, they're gonna take that 1 health state and then just basically run out. So unless you have Blood Warden or any endgame perks, this add-on by itself is not really the best. It's tricky because like with like endgame add-ons, it's a pretty good add-on because essentially you would force survivors to be injured, right? But then if you run it by itself, like it's an okay mediocre add-on. I don't know, it's very tricky. This add-on, it really depends like what you're running for this add-on, but I'm gonna put it in C tier because we're talking about add-on tier list by itself, like no perks intended. But if it was perk intended, I would say like probably B, A-, probably somewhere around there if you had like an endgame build with it. But for the most part, we're gonna put it in C tier. Okay, alrighty, now we got the D tier add-ons. These are the add-ons you should not be using ever. The only exception, and I'm gonna get into it right here, it is gonna be sunglasses. The only exception you should ever really be using this add-on for is if you're running it with Ring of Vlad. The reason why is because, again, how I talked about earlier with Ring of Vlad, is the more distance you have on the survivor, the more the hellfire is gonna be able to curve. Since this add-on basically gives you an extra pillar of hellfire with the add-on, you can essentially do a lot more tricky things with this add-on. But if you are running sunglasses by itself, you are going to have a miserable time because it essentially makes your hellfire charge time like 1.1 seconds or 1.125 seconds, which is very slow. It is so slow. And it's the thing about that too is since you have that longer time while you're charging it, you are a little bit slow, so survivors are gonna be able to turn a corner, especially on indoor maps. It's gonna make your life living hell. I'm so serious. It's gonna be so awful to use sometimes. And another thing is, since you have a longer time for pulling up your hellfire, it's gonna make it a lot more reactable on the survivors to basically dodge your hellfire. And it's not a really good add-on to be using in this time of day. You got a lot more options, okay? Okay, and then for Dracula's worst of the worst add-on, and in my opinion, this is probably one of the worst add-ons in the entire game. This add-on has to get reworked, bro. I have begged for this add-on to get reworked so long. And essentially what this does, whenever you get Killer Instinct while you are in wolf form, and you have to be in wolf form to get the Killer Instinct, it lasts for 1 second longer. Yeah. So the problem with this add-on is 2 seconds is enough time to basically help you understand where the survivor is trying to path to with this Killer Instinct, or basically just give you a ton of information where they're basically at. And the problem with this add-on as well, what makes it even worse, is you have to be in wolf form to get this information. If you're not in wolf form and you're in bad form or I don't know, vampire form in a chase or something like that, and they vault a window across the map, you're not going to get value out of this add-on. It's just like, it's a waste of an add-on slot, and it is so bad. I mean, if they made this add-on where you would get the killer instinct whatever form you're in, then maybe it'd be okay. But even then, like, there's a lot better options. There is so many better options, bro. I don't know. This add-on gotta go, bro. This add-on gotta go. They gotta rework it. I've begged for this add-on to get reworked for so long. And it's funny because this add-on used to be 0.8 seconds. It used to be worse. And then they tried buffing it. It's just like, you can't, like, I understand there has to be like add-ons for like newer Dracula players to help you understand their kit. But even then, they're not going to get really value out of this add-on because like you have to be in wolf form. I don't know, man. I don't know. But yeah, this is my Dracula add-on tier list for patch 10.0.0. Let me know what you guys think. I think this is a pretty good add-on tier list, right? You know, I had to remake this because Dracula's add-ons all did get reworked. So, but yeah, we'll be here again if they get all reworked again. But until then, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what you guys think are his best add-ons or his worst add-ons. Yeah, who knows? Someone probably thinks White Wolf Medallion is probably an S tier add-on, right? They probably think Lapis is like so bad, right? But yeah, let me know what you guys think.